Tavernier, 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 Tav, swing, Barra Tavernier. I caught it, Skipper, thanks very much. Yes. They things in it, they didn't look so much like anything you would find on another football strip. They didn't look so much like anything you would find on another like, training gear or track suits or anything like that. It didn't look like anything you would find on any kind of sporting equipment. It didn't look like anything you'd find on any clothes in general, in the whole history of clothes, like sartorially elegant or inelegant. That the whole history of go back to like when two cavemen were sitting buck naked round about a fire, just finished off eating another woolly mammoth, and one said to the other one, "See that stuff that is lying about there? The bones? No, the stuff underneath it. The kind of skin stuff with the fur on the outside. Aye. See if we got the tools here and we cut them up a bit sharper, and then we started cutting it up. Do you think we could fashion it into something that was maybe a bit useful? Oh, you mean like a Lecoq Sportif 1978 Argentina strip? I think it was Adidas." And he said, "No, mate, it was like Coxport," and then start hitting each other with the bones and that. But they things in it, they didn't look like clothes, didn't look like football gear, didn't look like it. They looked more like, I've got to be honest with you, they looked like urinal cakes, or urinal cubes, urinal blocks, whatever you. Remember, yeah, it's a while since I've been in a pub, because you don't need to go to the pub at my age. A cup of coffee and a wee slice of cake, that's when you need to enjoy yourself, isn't it? I don't miss pubs at all. But I still keep my eye in, and obviously I'm at the football every second week usually, and every now and then I will need a pee. You don't need the details. I don't want to give you the details, but I don't really remember seeing urinal cakes that recently. Maybe they do something different now, and I'm right behind the times. Maybe they pipe something through the water, some sort of fluoride or something that works the same way. Was it to scent it? Was it to create a scent that kind of offset the? I don't want to get into details, but they used to come in different colours. You'd get white urinal cakes and you'd get blue urinal cakes. And then you get pink ones, pink, kind of shocking pink, like this, in fact, darker pink than I'm showing you this highlighter pen here that I'm holding up to the camera. But his socks were darker. It's the kind of deepest, darkest, kind of shocking, horrible pink I've ever seen since I last seen a pink urinal cake. And I couldn't really take my eyes off them in the first half when they're up the other end, but in the second half, they're right in front of me. I was completely mesmerised. I hardly got to watch the game at all. And then the shorts and the top that went with them, they were pink but white, and I'll need to talk about that later. How you doing, folks? This is your Fat Eck post. Rangers are through to their fourth straight League Cup semi-final. Rangers are trying to get to their third straight League Cup final. Rangers are trying to win their second straight League Cup. Rangers are trying to get into their fourth League Cup final in 6 seasons, which is the kind of stats, the kind of incidental numbers that used to attach themselves to Rangers teams all throughout history, no matter how well or badly we were doing. We would just rack up numbers like that, those kind of Hampden appearances, cup final, adjacent or actual cup final appearances. So it's actually quite a good thing, even though maybe not that spectacular. Reaction pod coming to you in association with Gersnet tonight, 9:30 live on the YouTube channel, the Gersnet YouTube channel. The marquee show, the flagship show, the boys there will give you a much better review than I can of this game tonight, where I'm still reviewing it. It was tonight where Rangers have been back to Ibrox and did exactly what they did the last time they were at Ibrox, which was beating Dundee by 3 clear goals. And also sponsored by Wrigley's. Wrigley's, more accurately, Juicy Fruit, because that's what they gave me in the concourse at Wrigley Field when I first got into Wrigley Field. I don't even know if it was turnstiles. I think you just kind of showed your ticket. There was a line of stewards and they let you through. I remember there being like crush barriers and stuff like that. They kind of let you through with these tickets that had been out to Wrigleyville. They call it the whole area around about there. I think it's actually called Andersontown. The area where all the bars and the restaurants and Wrigley Field sit in Chicago is Addison on the red line, the L. That's where you go to get there. But I think it's also known as Boystown, when the baseball's not on. Maybe when the baseball is on, but just because boys who like to be boys and meet other boys, they go to that part of town. So that's a great vibe in Chicago. Oh, I've been to Chicago. I've been all over the world. I've been to so many places. New York, Chicago, Boston, all over Tennessee and all over England. So really, I've travelled the world I've all over England and about 4 or 5 different bits of America. I've been to Toronto as well, so that's North America. But I've got these, that's the memories I live off instead of going to the pub. But I went to, and it was the end of 2007, 2008. I think it was maybe July into August 2008 that I went there. And it was a kind of almost a warm down, if you like, and it was bloody roasting from the season that Rangers had just had. Was it 67, 68 games we played that season? Competitive games, the most games we have ever played in any season. And I was blogging about them. It's podding these days, it was blogging back then. I was blogging myself into oblivion after every one of these increasingly important. We hadn't been in a European final for 36 years then. So it was pretty stupendous, pretty amazing, and every game went to extra time and penalties. So I was up to like 15, 16 hours after every game had finished, and I was then going into my work and having to live off Coca-Cola and chocolate, and I got myself up to like 23 stone. But my kind of reward was to go to one of the hottest places on earth and go to a sporting occasion there. And it was a kind of, all the emotion of getting to Manchester and being at Manchester and that whole amazing run there and no quite making it in terms of the league, but winning 2 other domestic trophies, to go to a place that I loved for its own sake, that it was kind of like a target, almost the way, not the same intensity or anything like the same intensity that I'd built up about Rangers getting to a European final, but a kind of simmering ambition, just kind of below the foremost emotions in my sporting life, was to get to Wrigley Field, to go and see Wrigley Field. Because I'm not a big baseball fan, I don't know that much about baseball, but by that point in my life, I'd already been to see the Toronto Blue Jays against the Mariners, the Seattle Mariners, the second week of the Sky Dome, as it was called, down in Toronto back in '89. So over there visiting my family. I'd seen the Mets at Shea. They were also playing the Mariners. Shea Stadium no longer with it, but I've seen the Mets out there next to the tennis. What's it called again? The big Roland Garros is Paris. What's the Flushing Meadows? Flushing Meadows, just next to it. But I'd been to a few baseball games. I loved the iconography. I loved that feeling. It wasn't really about when I was in Chicago, I could have went to see Chicago Fire, the soccer team, MLS. And normally when I'm in a place like Germany or something like that, I might go and see the local football team. But it was on a Saturday night, and you know what it's like going to a football match on a Saturday night. It's not, you've got other things you want to do on a Saturday night. It was my only Saturday night, our only Saturday night in Chicago, and it's quite far out of town. I thought, I'm not doing it. But by that point, I wasn't actually that bored because I realised it's still fairly new. Soccer's been in the States since day one, really, but it's kind of fairly new as a major sport. It wasn't the whole city. It's a major sporting city, a great sporting city, Chicago. But the thing was the Cubs, and the Bears and the White Sox, the Black Hawks. These were the things. What's the basketball team called again? The Chicago Bulls. The Bulls. These were the main things. These were the things that people loved. The man in the street, if you like, your blue collar workers, your regular guys, and women, obviously. That's what the real vibe was. You try to get an idea of a city through its. Normally, I would go in Europe, or South America, whatever, to see the soccer team. But over there, it was no. I've been to see the Cubs at Wrigley Field. I don't need to go. So I've still never seen MLS franchise and like that. So that's something I've still got to do. But yeah, the whole point of this is, I've been, a lot of places sporting wise. I've been to the ones that could. I'm not going to say compare to Ibrox, but stick out in my memory. Ones that really felt quite emotional being there. The old Wembley. It was totally magical. Hillsborough, like Ibrox, a tragedy appended to it, but what a stadium. That's the pathos, man. It really is. The tragedy of people losing their life there almost emphasised by the fact that the place itself is so hauntingly beautiful. It's such a lovely football stadium. It's the only bit of football architecture. I think is the North Stand at Hillsborough. I think they brought that in for the 1966 World Cup. I sat in it during Euro 96. That's the only bit of football architecture mentioned in Pevsner's guides to England. So there you go. Absolutely gorgeous. Villa Park, when it had the original Trinity Road stand as it was supposed to be, I stood in the whole end. I've been to Villa Park since then. It's kind of done up, it's all seater and whatever. But that's a gorgeous structure, a beautiful structure. Goodison. What a sporting venue, so atmospheric, so tight, everything you think it is when you're watching it on the telly. These places I'd watched on the telly growing up, and to be there, magical. It's football venues, been to Hillsborough 3 times, twice during Euro 96 and once to see Sheffield Wednesday against Leyton Orient. But I stood up at the top of that Kop. You know, it was seated by the time I got there, but that's still the high corner that you see in that picture of when Pelle's playing for Santos at Hillsborough against Sheffield Wednesday, when they had the all blue top with the white sleeves, kind of Hibs and Arsenal style, and that point at the back of humanity, that is the old Kop at Hillsborough, which they actually made bigger. They actually brought it up to be level with that, to, you know, expanding the home end. I've been there and that was lovely, but the only place that's ever really come close to anything that I feel about Ibrox, it was Wrigley Field. And I don't know if it's because it's not football, it's not soccer, so it's not a direct rival in that sense. But I remember walking down, you know, coming from the L, the station, down the steps to get onto the sidewalk, and it's packed with everybody wearing the same all blue, the same blue jerseys that we've got, the same shade of blue, but they've got the Cubs logo on them, it's red and white, so it's gorgeous to me anyway. Fantastic atmosphere, and it's almost worse than UEFA and FIFA, what they're doing with the fixture schedule for the soccer. The baseball has always been, you play, I don't really understand the rules that much, I don't really understand how it all works, but I just feed off the kind of vibe of fandom, really. But you play the other franchise, the other team that you're playing like 3 consecutive nights or something like that. It's a bit like the hockey until one of these dies at old age or something like that. But it's quite intense. So they play it all through the week, and it was maybe a Tuesday tea time, and everybody's wearing their jersey. Except this one guy on this packed stairwell going down onto the sidewalk. He was very much wearing his shirt and tie. He just came out of his work, and I don't think there was MD on the other end of the phone that he had up to his ear. He was just talking as loud as he possibly could, giving it. Yeah, I hate the whole Cubs thing. I hate the whole Wrigley Field thing. You know, I mean, you didn't win it. You haven't go and win a World Series already. This is before they'd finished their, you know, infamous or famous run of not winning the World Series. You know, the curse of the goat, man. Look into it. It's really fascinating. Which was almost becoming the main kind of it was making them more sentimental to the rest of America, was the fact that they're such a big franchise, but they'd gone so long without winning. The last stadium in Major League Baseball not to have floodlights, although they had floodlights by the time I went, and they were absolutely gorgeous when they come on. And this guy was just, a bit like an Everton fan who's sick of hearing, oh, you never walk alone, and Liverpool are such a romantic club and that. It's like, they're just all Scandinavians that go to watch them. It's just a tourist attraction now. He's like, we're the people's club. Like Man City fans, before they got the money, used to be like that, saying they were the proper Mancunians as opposed to Manchester United. And it was just like, yeah, it's a different sport, it's a different continent, but it's the same vibe you get at the Fitbat. This was absolutely magical, and walked through the concourse to give it. I'm saying to my wife, "Oh my God, they've given me Wrigley." She's like, "Well, it's Wrigley Field, you know." But can you imagine that they're giving out free Wrigley at Wrigley Field? I know they're supposed to, but it feels fantastic. And I got inside the friendly confines, they call it, as you well know. The whole way, wait for someone to drink and eat and all that. And the bars they're in about it, sucking in the atmosphere. I got myself a T-shirt that this is 2008, and I think I only threw it out last year. I mean, you could shoot peas through it. You could shoot an actual baseball through it. It was so worn away. It was the Chicago flag, but instead of the stars they've got on the Chicago flag, they had wee tiny Cubs faces on them. Loved it. The guys all around about me in the bleachers were commenting on it, but I wasn't in the bleachers. I was in the bit that's in the shade. And the thing with, you know, the classic baseball stadium is, you know, like half of it, it just kind of sweeps around one corner, has got the roof, and the rest of it is open. It's fairly open, and you've got the bleachers, and there's a bit, there's been no crowd behind it at all. But the famous thing about Wrigley Field is it's so tightly packed. The friendly confines are only just within the ivy that's all round about the diamonds, the pitch, the park. Sorry if I don't get the terminology right here. That's absolutely gorgeous, but also outside, the way Wrigley Field is confined within that community in Boystown, Wrigleyville, Andersontown, whatever it's called, it's amazing. You have these guys that are going about the streets outside, because half the stadium doesn't have a roof on it. Is it ball hawkers they call them? Maybe that's for the Boystown thing, I don't know. But excuse me if I don't get the term right, but they're catching these baseballs. If one of the players hits a home run or just knocks the ball out the park, there's these guys all dotted round about the areas that they're most likely to land outside. They don't go in to watch the game. They stand outside, these guys like in their 40s and 50s and what have you, with their catcher's mitt, and they just catch these balls coming out the stadium. and they add them to their collection. And I think there's fights going and all that when two guys are going for the same ball stuff. They've got their little patches that they go around about, and it's like me doing, ticking off every ground I've been to, or every game I've watched Rangers this season on Footballogy, somebody collecting programmes, that kind of thing. But on the other side of that, just you've got your sidewalk, you've got the road full of these guys catching all the stray balls, sidewalk, and then your restaurants and bars, and they're at the bottom of maybe 5, 6, 7-storey high buildings that just go up just above the boundary walls that don't have a roof on them. And on the top of them, if you know Wrigleyville, sorry, you know all this, they've got seats. They've got little stands, little temporary stands, or little, they certainly look a bit, rough and ready, but they've got their own little stands on the flat roofs, just a basic office building. But on top of it, they've got a grandstand that's open to the elements. Because people can see into the stadium, they can see into Wrigley Field, they can watch the game. And I don't know if they sort out some sort of rental thing or something. Really, know what America's like for being litigious when it comes to sport and all that, and image rights and that. But they're all watching the game, so they're as packed as the actual stands in Wrigley Field, in the actual stadium itself. It's a combination of Ascot, Centre Court at Wimbledon, Twickenham, all these iconic venues that I've not been to, but I've still seen the telly so often that you get a feel for them, you get a kind of lust to be there one day. It was all that combined, the Brecon Hedge, Ibrox, everything. It was utterly gorgeous. But this thing where the stadium never really ends, it goes out into the streets, and where you're sitting in the covered stand, I don't know what they call it at the baseball, and you're looking out towards that, and you've got the cityscape behind it. It's like the city is simultaneously coming into the confines of the stadium as the stadium goes out into the city itself. It's just this beautiful, gorgeous, communal feeling. What a sports club, what we want our football teams to properly be. And I know Glasgow's a dear green city and all that, but Ibrox fully roofed. It's absolutely gorgeous. You cannot see the corners filled in as well. One bit, when I'm sitting in the main stand, my seat in the main stand, I look to my left. Sometimes if you're in there kind of late summer, and you can see the sun setting in the west, sometimes coming in, it's hitting the glass that's at the side of the main stand now as well. It's utterly beautiful, but mostly Ibrox is enclosed now, but you feel it. And I think that's what it is with Wrigley Field. It's the feeling that I have going to Ibrox, where it's not my city. My city is divided between Rangers fans, Celtic fans, Partick Thistle fans, Queen's Park fans, Clyde, I don't know what they're doing just now, and fans of other clubs who just happen to stay in Glasgow. But it's my city, where I live, the city I love, and to have, I just feel it. I can feel that communal thing that is concrete, physically evident. You can see it, you can feel it, you can hear it at Wrigley. It's a basic visual representation of what you feel when you're at your stadium, and your stadium is Ibrox. And it was a beautiful thing tonight. I'm driving down. I thought it was just going to be a case of I would get there, I would park the motor, and go, aye, back at Ibrox. It's only been 4 months I've been away, really. If I'd had, a bit of a limp or something, if I'd twisted my ankle or something, I would probably end up, I could go 4 months, without going to Ibrox. So it's not a big deal. Just, what's the fuss here? We should never have been away this long. I'm just back at the stadium I've always been to. It would become kind of muscle memory. But no, it was lovely. It was nice. There was a kind of wee magical feeling the night. And I was driving down Crow Road, and I'm heading to, and I realised that was the thing. I'm going to just, I will talk about the actual game later on, but the main thing tonight was being back at Ibrox, and Rangers have let us celebrate that, and that's the beautiful thing about this game. Going down Crow Road, and I realised when you mythologise, as I'm doing right now, your own fandom, your own depth of feeling for your own particular sporting institution, and you think about how you first got there, usually thinking about your family, or the uncles, aunties, mums, dads that took you first of all to games, brothers, sisters, whatever it is, and you think about that mode of transport. And it was, for me, I was coming from Ardrossan, 3 Towns, North Ayrshire, so it was the Stevenson Masonic Rangers Supporters Club. My uncle was in the committee, my auntie, they were married and that, so they took me to my first Rangers game the same as a kid and blah blah blah. You've heard that story a million times, but it was the bus you would get on, the hidden team and all that, the kind of tartan bits in the back of the seats. I'm talking late 70s into early 80s, the radio coming out and having the wee fresh air thing above you. It was like the equivalent I feel now when I go on a plane to go away on my holidays. It was a wee bit of an adventure, going up to the Big Smoke from Ardrossan. Oh, Ardrossan was pretty superior. 3 stations in Ardrossan, only the 2 2 stations in Glasgow. But it was great. There was the committee guy, what was his name? I can't remember. The committee, he used to come about, if anybody fell asleep, the guys that had been out in the bed the night before, he would give them a dun, hey, no sleeping in the bus, that'll get you banned, no sleeping allowed in the bus, that's against the rules. And I used to think it was serious. First I didn't realise it was a wind-up, was to annoy folk who had been in the bevy. But it was, growing up in the bus, that's what you remember. And I was thinking about it today, I actually only went on the bus for maybe, 5, 6 years? And it means so much to me. And I had 2 seasons, 85, 84, 85 and 85, 86, where I think until 2007, 2008, I'd been to more Rangers games. That was my most kind of busy seasons of actually going to games. I think I only missed 2 league games across the 2 seasons. I had a paper round. And because everything was cheaper, because I was school age for a lot of that time, I could afford to do it. It was every game, home and away. I think it was like Aberdeen. I think it was Pittodrie and a school night was the only ones I missed 2 consecutive seasons. But after that, kind of 16, 17, you and your pals will maybe start going on the bus together, as opposed to going with your auntie and uncle, or then sometimes going with my uncle's mates, and then other times I was just going with my mates, and then we started getting the train. We'd seen that documentary where the ICF, the West Ham ICF, the real ICF, had gone to Old Trafford and all that. They had an intercity firm, fantastic. So we would get the large train to Glasgow and catch it at Ardrossan. That was our ICF return to Glasgow Central, please, from Ardrossan. Then we realised the casual thing wasn't really, well, no, like my mate Ronnie, he joined the army and that, so he was able to look after himself, but he thought fighting at football wasn't really worth it, and I thought I had to fight just to survive walking about the streets of Ardrossan, just to be able to go for a night out or anything like that. So to waste that, get out of jail free card at the football, something we quite enjoyed, seemed to be a bit of a waste of time. But that train, and then your different pals now end up going to wine bars. I remember doing that, various wine bars and what have you in Glasgow in the kind of 90s, before then heading through to Easter Road or up to Pittodrie, and then we're just walking along Paisley Road from the city centre, walking into the city centre, something like Colin, Jersney, doing the pre and post match reaction pods, just going to meet him, we'd be in the underground and stuff like that, and get a few bevies before and after the games. But mostly I just realised it's the car. I don't really remember my cars. Some folk remember their history of cars. Obviously my history is all about football stadiums, but I must have been driving for like 20 years now. Easily I've had a car for probably 22 years since I first properly had a car, and most of the time, with occasional exceptions, that's what I do. Drive to Ibrox, drive to Hampton. That's what I've basically been doing since 2008, really. Before that, 20 years I've gone to Ibrox, but I would go other places then as well. But now I'm just Ibrox and Hampden. And of course, for most of the season, it's just been Hampden. And that's the thing. Tonight, I realised that area that I go to, or a park tonight, it wasn't, Govan Hill surrounded by lots of tenement flats. It was a hill in Govan, on the flat. It wasn't a hill in Govan. I was just on the flat, and I was surrounded by houses. All these houses that I actually know so well, without realising I know so well. My God, they must have been really loving the fact that they'd all these heat cases come and parking their motors outside their house. Again, after 4 months of complete peace and quiet. But wee bits of garden furniture and that you notice. I think it was heading down in the motor, Clyde Tunnel, heading to us, and it's been swipe left. I like swipe left. You're going to have to go up Clydeside Expressway. That I talked about in a previous pod. That kind of precipitous, helter-skelter roller coaster of a single lane flyover that flies over the Kingston Bridge over to the far side. You think you're going to go into Clyde, or going to one of the buildings in the Glasgow city centre, and you sweep down and you go over the Kingston Bridge over towards Hampden. No, swipe right, go straight through, get down under the water, go under the Clyde. Another fantastic piece of Glasgow architecture, a bit of Glasgow engineering, the Clyde Tunnel, through there again, and off to Ibrox. And it's kind of this side of Craigton Road. If you know Craigton Road, I'm coming from the west of that. So parking there, and I get out the car in this usual spot. I'm thinking, this is great, actually, I'm feeling this. And then I was hearing it. I heard something that I've no heard before. I could hear the crowd. I'm thinking, right, it's a strange kick-off time. Has maybe Benburb been playing, or the Union Bears have decided to go and watch Benburb at New Tinto Park? It's actually Old Tinto Park, but we'll talk about that later. Have they started to go there before the game? They've got themselves with others, Dundee fans, just up in that bit of Helen Street or whatever it's, Shield Hall Road. Are they causing a bit of trouble? I can hear singing that I don't usually hear. when I get out of the car to head to Ibrox and I park my usual kind of spot. But I think it's because it's turned the other way. I think it's because the Union Bears were in the Copland tonight and it's sending the noise through that gap that I'm talking about down towards me, towards where I was coming from. That gap between the BROOMLOAN and the main stand. And it was almost like, it was like the crowds, the sirens pulling me back towards not the rocks, but the Ibrox. Oh, nice one. Oh, that's quite good. Didn't mean that one. My name's Alec Anderson. This ain't no party. This ain't no disco. This ain't no fooling around. This ain't no mud club or CBGBs. We ain't got time for that now. That was lovely. That was lovely to see Rangers just making the arrival back at Ibrox as special as it should be. And I was talking last night on the preview pod about how it's a kind of false high. It's no really good news. It's more the end of bad news. We shouldn't be, probably objectively speaking, anything other than embarrassed that we had to be away from Ibrox at all. This whole situation is a complete rick, and we should get rid of the chairman. Oh no, he's had to go because we've driven the guy absolutely ill. Probably we've made him ill, and the CEO then. Oh no, he got out before it all went to pot. So it's something we should be a bit embarrassed about, and the idea that it's more like the end of a bad thing as opposed to the start of a new thing. But through that, we managed to, this is what a good football manager like Philip Clement should do. This is what, a properly lustful for glory football supporter should do as well. If there is any kind of good feeling, even if it is just relief, turn it, twist it into, augment it, go with it, use it as kind of fuel, set fire to it, push it onto something else, get us a bit of momentum, compound it, and that's what we did tonight. We turned it into something even more positive. We got this 3-0 win. Suddenly we're getting a lot of clean sheets when you ignore the Celtic game, obviously. Domestically, I think we've only conceded in one other game. At Motherwell at Hampden, we beat them 2-1 in the league. And Cyril Dessers, that's him on, it's 7 goals. I think he's got for the season, but 6 of them have been at home. Even the away goal that he got, it was, strictly speaking, Dynamo Kiev were the home team that night, but they weren't even properly at home. They were playing in Poland, so it's one of these things where Desso's maybe going to let us down when we go to Parkhead, or we'll get big European games, for example, on Thursday night away from home, but we're at a level, and we need to make sure we go no further back than that level, and we can top it up every now and then if we're pushing towards, if we're having the rebuild that we obviously are when you look at the roster of players and how many we've got rid of and how many we've brought in, then this is the way to do it. This is the way to get ourselves a solid base, a bit of a base camp, so we can start heading a bit further up that mountain that we're going to have to climb to get back to being regularly the best team in the league in Scotland. The team tonight, there was 3 changes from the 11 that started the game at Tannadice last Sunday. We had Cherny, Václav Cherny, he's back from his illness, so he was starting on the right-hand side, which meant no Kieran Dill. Now, Kieran Dill, by the way, I wouldn't get too. There's always a player who comes in and nobody really fancies him, and everybody wonders why he's still there, and he does something special. And there is a slot opened now in the Rangers squad for somebody who just turns up at Hampden. And we're heading back to Hampden. Scott writes away. Kieran Dill, be careful how you slag him. Nadim Bajrami, the Albanian wunderkind, who's actually 26-year-old, so isn't a kint. He come in to start on the left-hand side, come on at half-time last week at Tannadice. That meant that Cortez, who's obviously working himself back to full fitness, he was back on the bench tonight. And Dujon Sterling came in to replace Diomande, because last night on the preview pod I was saying how I couldn't stand Rangers fans, complaining after the game at Tannadice because they weren't expecting Kieran Dill to be in the team. That's not the 11 I would have picked, but they still get the win. So I'm doing exactly the same thing, of course. If you mouth off about stuff like that, you will pay the price. And I was telling everybody that I thought Diomande is actually quite a good player. He's doing quite well. But Dujon Sterling comes in there straight away tonight, and Diamande's on the bench to replace him. So it was interesting. It's a new team. The most interesting thing was the stadium itself. I felt 33,665. That's not as bad a crowd as we thought it was going to be. You have to remember the capacity was reduced, because the top of the Copland was both empty and bigger than usual and looking quite dramatic. Somebody who's not interested in football, I'm trying to explain to them what's actually happened, what's been causing this problem. It's basically they've taken the rows, 4 or 5 rows for the back or the front of the Copland, and put them on the front of the back of the Copland. It's like, I think that's quite a straightforward explanation, but I'm still getting quizzical looks. But you can see it tonight, couldn't you? Almost the fact that these new, like 6 or 7 new rows at the back of the Copland rear, at the front of the Copland rear, they're all pristine brand new seats, and they're kind of weather beaten older seats. It slightly shows up a bit, but I think there's a full crowd in there. You'll notice this more. The thing that I noticed tonight, you've noticed it as well. It's a bit of a cop, isn't it? A top tier cop's unusual, but just that few extra rows of seats at the front there. And I think we had the 3 or 4 extra rows going on years back to the Club 72, but you know, the back, the front of the back of the govern stand, the balcony there. And that's kind of almost imperceptible when you looked at it from a distance. But this, I noticed, I think, because obviously it's a much longer, much wider stand, the Govan, the Sandy Jardin, but the Copland being thinner, it looked quite dramatic. It's quite a rake now. I think when we get all the fans in there, it's going to add to something. That now the wheelchair supporters, I think it's an absolute disgrace what's happened there. They're living like rock stars. They're up there. I know they're due. I know they're due to be sorted. They're due to be helped out all the years sitting on the trackside. But come on, going to see Rangers is supposed to be suffering. It's supposed to be punishment. It's supposed to be something. It's supposed to be rehabilitation. They're living in a hotel. That's a hotel they've got in there. That looks like a jacuzzi. Obviously a drinks dispenser. I think they've got the surround sound, widescreen, ultra HD tellies in there as well. And I think PlayStations and stuff like that. It looked super glamorous, didn't it? It looked pretty. So it's looking smart. It is looking smart, even though that was the one bit of the ground. I think it might be because there was another thing they thought the whole Copland was going to be shut for this game. So probably half the fans who would have been in front of the Copland had already applied for tickets for other parts of the stadium before the front of the Copland got opened. And we're told belatedly, I think that part of the ground was going to be open. So maybe that's why that seemed to be the most kind of poorly attended part of the ground. But 33,665, one more, and it could have been quite evil, that crowd. That wasn't a bad turnout. And the grass, I will talk about football at one point. The grass in front of me, I'm sitting in the south stand, the main stand, the Bilstruth stand, and I sit just kind of level with the penalty box at the Copland, and the Desso hybrid Grassmaster, whatever you call it. You can clearly see it's all the existing pitch. The most part of the pitch is a darker green, much more verdant green, isn't it? Almost looked a bit dingy. Very tidy, beautifully manicured. You see the cut of the grass. It's all done like a kind of Sahovnica in green. It's chessboard stuff, lovely stuff. But then, obviously, where the cranes have been, where the heavy plant has been during this rebuilding of the back and front of the front and back of the Copland. First of all, the grass turns to, as you get towards the 18-yard box, there's these kind of lovely stripes going up in front of me, a kind of a slightly lighter green, very tidy, very neat. And then once you get into the actual penalty box, from one corner flag to the other corner flag, glowing green, almost looked plastic, absolutely beautiful. This added to a kind of glamour. And also the little lip coming forward at the front of the back of the Copland. You need to balance that out. The one thing about Ibrox, the beautiful thing about Ibrox is the symmetry. How everything is just balanced. I like my yang, I like my chakras, balanced. And we need to get the BROOMLOAN done. I know, just got this done. We don't want to be shutting Ibrox again. But we'll get it organised better this time, maybe next summer. Maybe when Dave King's in, he'll get everything done properly. But we need to get it done up at the BROOMLOAN as well, because it's I can see this thing. I noticed that they had to move the scoreboard forward. They've had to put a few extra seats in the corner just over the Jumbotron screens in the Copland rear. And when you look at it and you compare it to the BROOMLOAN now, I was checking it out the night, you can see the scoreboard at the BROOMLOAN, it goes back the way. It's back, underneath. It's underneath the Jumbotron screens, and it's flush. At the Copland side, it's flush with the wee windows that are in it used to be a hospitality, but it used to be a bar and all that, just below the Copland screens. Don't have the same amount of windows up at the BROOMLOAN end, because that's the away end. The windows will get panned in, but there is equivalent windows up there, and they're in front of the scoreboard, so they need to get the extra rows in there. It's looking good, but just get it balanced out. Do it again. Ibrox was looking absolutely smashing tonight, and so were Rangers. We just went for it from the word go. That thing we did, that was talking about us previously. We had a good opening 11 minutes at Parkhead, then it all went to pot. Well, we had a great opening 24 minutes at Tannadice, in which we took the lead, and then Dundee United altered things and came into it, and it became a bit more of a drag. Tonight, I think it was the first 24, maybe 25th minute that Dundee broke away and went through on goal. Again, by this point in time, we're already a goal up and perhaps playing even better, and we managed to bleed that kind of energy, that general dominance throughout the rest of the game to the point where we actually won the thing 3-0. So the manager, you can see what he's doing. This promise of, it will be October, November, or it was a glib comment he made, but I think it was very pointed as well. Kind of joking, not joking. It's going to be October, November before you see this team at their best, and you can see them. That's all I want. It's gradual improvement. Pounded by Celtic, but we know how far we are behind Celtic infrastructurally, and while we're waiting for some sort of fairy godmother to come in and give us billions of pounds, this is the way to do it. This is what we've got to do. And it's just we're checking on the manager. Is this manager going to end up going the same way as Michael Beale? And Michael Beale won 4-0 in the League Cup quarter-final at Ibrox this time last season, but that was against a Livingston side who were terrible, even by Livingston. But Livingston done well, don't mean disrespect to them, but they really fell away from things last season. Really poor squad. They were relegation fodder early doors. This is Dundee, top 6 team last season, and they were 6th in the table when they came into this game tonight. That was a decent result, and it done really well. And again, we're back to looking at how many clean sheets we get in other games, and how many goals Desso is scoring. And it was really nice. When was the first goal? We did, to be honest, we dominated that first 24, 25 minutes in a way that we didn't dominate the rest of the game particularly, but we did dominate the rest of the game really. But we have this thing where it's a kind of swirling energy of competence, sometimes dominance, sometimes really exhilarating between the two boxes. What I'm trying to say is, we still look as if we could be caught out at the back, and we still look as if we're not sharp enough in front. We don't actually create enough clear-cut chances at the other end. But we did get a goal. We're 1-0 up at half-time, and we got a goal at the 18th minute, and it was Bajrami was involved. And one of the things I noticed tonight, 2 or 3 things I noticed tonight really encouraging. Robin Proper, who I was saying was get Balogun, and I wouldn't be bothered if Proper was dropped because I still don't quite fancy him. Oh, tonight he was doing the Julian Rodriguez, hitting him long. Remember he used to hit Daryl Posso at a time, Julian Rodriguez. But tonight he was going one better. He was hitting it from one flank to the other and from one half to the other over to Cherney in the right wing. Proper was hitting him some, and he was also hitting Jefte. Jefte playing at left back, a natural outside left probably, but he's playing at left back as it has been in the absence of Yilmaz. He's overlapping. He was hitting him long, and Bajrami wasn't doing the kind of hugging the left-hand touchline kind of thing. He's a 10. 10's his favourite position. We still had Tom Lawrence playing at 10. That was something I was debating last night. I don't know whether I want to see Bajrami, who's a natural 10, probably more exciting, go in there instead of Lawrence, who's really starting to hit form. Did well, scored the only goal of the game at Tannadice. And it's at times tonight, we seem to get the best of both worlds. So Bajrami isn't hugging the touchline, he's letting Jefte do that, up and down the flank thing, the attack and the overlapping as a fullback, as a wing back. But he's a check for anybody who's going to come in. Well, obviously, Václav Černý's check, but he's there to watch, to cover if anybody's going to get in behind Jefte. But also he's coming in and being like a kind of supplementary 10 when Lawrence seemed to be coming back and being an auxiliary 6 at times. We don't quite have that creativity with the sitting 2, any kind of combination of natural sitting 2s we've got just now. So it's good the way they were moving about. All teams are fluid, but there was quite a bit of fluidity tonight. But Bajrami is good. He looks like a baller, as they say, as the kids say. It looks like a total baller. Looks like he's doing. Looks like he could do a bit more fitness. As fast as I was thinking he would be. I don't see why. Maybe the moves. It's a lot of. A lot of mental, it's quite taxing mentally and emotionally moving country, I would imagine. So maybe that's a bit of drain on him, but he didn't seem as fast of foot as I expected him to be. But he lasted, 73 minutes or something like that of the game, and he's certainly fast of mind. He's fast. He's not fast in terms of sprinting up and down the park kind of thing, but he's making the ball do the work for him. He was really, really good, and he ends up firing a ball basically onto Desser's feet in the 18th minute from the left-hand side. Dessers hits it straight at the goalie. It gets cleared out the way, but instead of kind of, taking his eye off the ball, mumping and moaning or whatever, or trying to claim a penalty, which is something Dessers always seems to do, he's Johnny on the spot. When Tav, the captain, sensational, he comes up and he fires a shot in from the right-hand side. I think it was going to go in anyway. It's probably going to right in the top bin, but Dessers gets there and just kind of redirects it. Just just gives a loveliest little nick to send it under the pink, very gammony looking Dundee goalkeeper Trevor Carson, and it's 1-0 to Rangers pretty early, but we couldn't get that second goal, and almost, I say, about 5 or 6 minutes later, I mean, Tom Lawrence, again, it was something he does quite regularly, was going through, Dundee are trying to hit his back, and he goes through on goal. It's a breakaway, and Tom Lawrence is through the middle. As I say, he's been a kind of supplementary striker as well, I think, trying to help out Dessers. It was good, got a lot of fluidity, a lot of movement in the party, and he shimmies and he shammies, and he's delaying and he's mumping and he's moaning, but at the same time, he's just so good, this new Tom Lawrence, that swivel of the hips this way and that, and he's just sending Dundee defenders everywhere. Basically, he just had to get it past the goalkeeper, and he curls it away over the top corner. He's 3 or 4 chances to score 1 goal, Tom Lawrence. That's maybe a bit of a problem there, but he couldn't finish it off. Dundee, by that point, had brought the first save of the game out of, and they got behind us. They got behind us a couple of times, quite exposing. And Jack Butland's a great game tonight. He came out right out of his box, tackled the fella, and I was a bit worried it was going to be one of the ones that was VAR'd, and he's actually red carded and off. It was a total foul, but I think it was he got away with it. Good tackle, but Dundee had stretched us. We Dessers also with another kind of volley. It was his back to goal. We turned and swung one. The keeper puts it over the bar. But when we go in at half time, it's 1-0. You just hope this doesn't go sideways, because apart from anything else, it's a Saturday night. That's the thing. It's a bit of a. It was almost like to stop us getting the bends. They kind of reacclimatising for Hampden, going back to Ibrox. There was enough that was still quite strange. So we took the strange of being at Hampden. You know, for example, was it 6 o'clock, 5:45? They kick off in the last round when we're at home at Hampden to Dundee St Johnstone in the League Cup. This time it was 5:30. You know, a bit earlier, but still pretty kind of a weird kick-off time. And you've still got the ticket on your phone. But then doing that at Ibrox is strange compared to what you usually get the smart card at Ibrox. Maybe you printed, folk were printing them off and that kind of thing. But there's a wee bit of kind of weirdness there, just to, like, everything's no back to exactly the way it was before. It's not too much of a culture shock. We're kind of bled back into the Ibrox routine. But we came out in the second half, and the manager had finally listened to me. You know, he'd listened to me. He'd realised the mistake he was. He was probably at half time. He probably had somebody during the first half watching my pod for last night, and he said, "No, Alec was saying, you've got to get Diamandi in there. He's playing quite well just now." So Sterling, who didn't do a lot, he did not do a lot in the first half. He didn't reappear for the second half. Immediately gave us a bit more energy. Connor Barham is my man of the match. I thought Connor Barham was sensational. I think we're going to be saying that a few times this season. He was absolutely bloody everywhere. A couple of stray balls, I think, but you noticed them because it was the only things he was doing wrong. He was everywhere, first minute to last minute of injury time. And did you notice tonight, again, on the scoreboards, on the screens, sorry, it's not on the scoreboards, that was the whole point, the clock went beyond 90. The scoreboards, it stopped at 90. We get into injury time, they were still stuck at 90 minutes. But as per Hampden, I commented on this after St Johnstone's game, I think it's just when they're live on Premier Sports. I think that's what it is. It's on the screens when they're showing the actual game. It's been done by Premier Sport, probably, that the clock went beyond. That's a big thing for me. You don't get stadium clocks that go beyond 90, and it was nice to see a clock that actually went, so you didn't have to count the injury time. Didn't matter anyway, because I threw up at that point. But Connor Barham just absolutely everywhere from the first whistle to the last, and he's then supplemented by Diamandi to start the second half. Rangers just too much for the D straight away, and Tav, he's got an assist for his own. Got an assist for a goal. He's not an own goal, a goal he scored on his own, almost, because he put such a brilliant ball in from a corner to Cyril. Picks out Cyril Dessers, that the Dundee defenders got no choice but to get his hands round Dessers and just throw him to the ground forlornly, because big Cyril's about to walk it into the goal. But it comes to Tav to walk it into the goal on a brand new patch of grass. And he's probably starting his run on the grass that the orange crane was on, and the penalty spot is on the grass that's been put on top of the old, where the green crane was doing all that work. So this is bad enough. But then the referee decides to go around all the Dundee players, who are obviously crowding the box and crowding the D, one by one, telling them, "No, you make sure you're outside." I mean, Tav's already got his kind of stance on, his concentrate. The referee's totally ratcheting up the pressure, and I'm feeling the pressure as well, because Tav's already had a couple of dodgy moments. Not dodgy moments, but not the best balls getting played out, and people were kind of dying to get on his back. Please have a good one, Tav, have a good one. But he just steps up like an absolute legend and slams that penalty right into the top bin. 2-0. This is good. This is absolutely good. And Tav comes up and he does the old baseball bat to my face celebration, because he's running towards the bit I'm in, and he's like, Alec, I'm sorry about that. He's me, I love you though, big man, I love you though, and I'm kissing him, and it's like, it's for me, it's all for me, you know. I mean, somebody said it was somebody behind me that's in that kind of section, complimentary tickets, it's just up behind me, but I think it was actually me. He said, thanks for your support, Alec, love you, Tav, love you. So that was 2-0. Big reliefs all round. We had some substitutions, not until we'd had the third goal though. What was that, 66 minutes, I think. Desso's big Cyril. What was the build up to that goal? What was the build up to that goal? The build up to that goal was absolutely spectacular. So spectacular that if you're watching this, you'll see me spitting towards my own camera here. Very nice, Alec. Your rhino cakes to start with and spitting on you to end with. Absolutely disgusting. But so was the ball played in by Bajrami for the third goal of the game. I don't know quite what happened, but it was fast and it was furious. Dundee were trying to mount a wee attack. After we'd gone 2-0 up, they were pulling a few saves out of Jefte Butland. A point blank save from Simon Murray. I've not watched it back. I recorded it again tonight. I've not watched it back in the telly, but something happened after Jefte Butland made the point blank save from Simon. I think somebody else was saying to me Butland saved it twice. I don't know if he saved it on his feet or something like that. I couldn't see it because it was up the other end. Jefte Butland's wearing a shocking salmon pink top. That's, for a guy of my age, that was kind of shocking enough back in the day to note for a goalie. A Rangers goalie noticed, but wearing the yellow, the Bobby Brown, the Peter McCloy, the Stuart Kennedy, the Chris Woods, the Andy Gorham. Just the yellow was the colour, you know, for Rangers goalkeepers to be wearing. But you know, to wear it anything other than that was bad enough. But then shocking salmon pink, even though you know all the casuals and that like we used to wear the. You know, I couldn't afford Lacoste. I had Le Shark. I had this kind of salmon pink Le Shark that I used to wear. But the Dundee goalkeeper, I don't know what. It's like it's like actual gammon. It's like some sort of skin. It's like you've hacked through somebody's skin, and they're not dead, but they're not bleeding either. It's just the pinkness with the rind. I've never seen anything like it. Great guy, Trevor Carson. Hard as nails. You wouldn't slag him, but it's just. So Jefte Butland, a cracking save, and then he did another good save, or did they miss it? I think the fella just headed it over the top, and this was a Tav had put a bad. He just played the ball up the line straight to the Dundee player who whipped a great ball into the about 6-yard box, really, right between the two centre halves. I thought the shooter did okay tonight, and Proper, as I say, was stroking the ball about something Beckenbauer-esque, but it was a bad game for Tav, and we were lucky that Dundee missed that one. But pretty soon, I think Dundee were trying to mount another attack down our left-hand side, and who went in there? I think it may have been Jefte. I don't know if he played a 1-2 with Lawrence, or he had to Lawrence, and then Lawrence knocks it up to Bajrami. The two of them combining well, and that's good. Good to see them getting an understanding, the 2-10s. And it ends up with Bajrami just whipping it first time. He is hugging the byline at this point, hugging the side of the pitch at this point in time, and he just whips it right across. And it takes a wee kind of bounce, an awkward bounce, and Desso's has got an awkward gait, an awkward kind of. It was an acrobatic overhead kick type thing, but he's kind of. But the two of them cancelled each other out to make a beautiful finish. A fantastic first time finish. Internet VAR check just to give us all the fear, but no, it was fine. It was a cracking goal, a lovely goal, a real coup de grace. It would always been insulting to have another goal after that, take the shine off it, and pretty soon after that, Igaman come on for Dessers and McCausland come on for Cherny, who was okay. Didn't do a lot, Cherny, but that was in the 2 minute off just before, just more than 20 minutes to go. Good to see Ross McCausland still getting a game. 73rd minute, Cortez come on for a wee cameo, and Bajrami went off to a standing ovation. So good. The squad's feeling a bit deeper these days as we start our European group stage, which is going to be a marathon. We huffed and puffed. Dundee, that was it. They shot the load by that point. And we were just, stroking it about. Igaman had a few kind of clumsy attempts on goal. I think he put to bed the idea that he should have been starting the game tonight. He wasn't looking too sharp at all, I thought, tonight, Igaman, but he was trying his best, the young fella. And then 81 minutes, the biggest moment of the game, which was, I might be outside the front of the main stand protesting for the rest of the week, but Casa and Weirjo come on. That's fine. We like this young Dutch fellow we've got on loan from Feyenoord. They can play centre half, and apparently can play right back as well, right wing back. But he came on for Tav. Tav went off with 9 minutes of normal time to go, and that's fine. I don't know. Did they give the armband to somebody else? I don't know, but it's not. Maybe we've been expecting a public execution. You know, like just stripping him of the armband and making him walk past all his teammates and like they've all got to turn away from him. No, you're dishonoured. As away you go, Tav. I think that's what a lot of people are expecting. A lot of people like myself have been fearing. But perhaps maybe he had another moment, Tav, where it was a pass back, I think, meant to be to Butland, and Dundee intercepted it as well and made a hash of it. Or maybe it was another Jack Butland save. I can't really remember because my heart was in my mouth. I thought, he was brilliant in attack. He's basically got 2 assists, 1 to his own penalty, and the goal, converting the goal that basically secured the game, put us in the next round of put us in the semi-finals of the League Cup. But a few dodgy moments at the back, as he did at Tannadice last week as well. Not as apparent last week, but I can see he's definitely the body language. I know people have been talking about that. I think he looks upset at the fact he doesn't have the same sharpness that he's had even towards the end of last season. I know he's supposed to go backwards last season, but it definitely looks like he's still suffering from the wee operation that he had in the summer there. So I hope that's all it is with the manager taking him off, or maybe this is what people want. Not so much a public execution as I say, more a kind of, minimum security prison or day release license or something like that. Maybe it's the equivalent of a Tav tag that he's wearing. He's slowly being taken out of the team. You don't often see Tav coming off. When he's on, he stays on. When he's in the team, he stays in the team. If you're not really used to watching Rangers, you'll be thinking, aye, the captain comes off with 9 minutes to go. What's the big deal? Well, the manager was trying to take him off last week. He was thinking about taking him off last week, and this week he has taken him off with 9 minutes to go. This is massive for James Tavernier. This is massive for those of us who hate or love him, James Tavernier. And this might be him starting to get bled out, or who knows what's happening. But it happened anyway. Casemiro come on. I couldn't. It's not his fault, but I hate him. Because he's going in the Tav position. I hate Casemiro. I don't know what kind of game he had. I just hate him. We need to sell him. We need to get rid of him. We need to get rid of all right backs except James Tavernier. But nice big travelling support from the Dundee. They filled the away corner, made plenty of noise and all that. Their players as well, looking good in their kind of Bolton Wanderers home kit, away kit. So it's not unlike the away kit that we wore in 2020, 2021, which is the last time we didn't make the League Cup semi-finals under Steven Gerrard. I really enjoyed that. It just felt really nice to be back at Ibrox. And I think, as I'm saying before, we want to be looking at what we need to do if we don't have investment. And I think some of the investment has been Saudi Arabia. I don't want money for Saudi Arabia. They behead people. They're disgusting. We don't want money from Saudi Arabia. Okay. I don't anyway. Okay, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Sorry, I need to cut out the arrogance. I like a bit solipsistic, but I don't want that kind of money. And Dave King just talking about 50. We need 50 million. Why not make it 75, Dave? Round it up to 100. Let's make it 100 million. Until I don't want investment that's going to be, don't know who's bringing the money in and what might happen to his 5 to. This is why David Murray, who I liked, got hunted. It was always Murray, just a fly-by-night. It was 23 years, I think, he was in control and pretty much won as much stuff as anybody else has ever won, where they've been owner of Rangers down the years. So I don't see why suddenly we're just saying, I get in anybody, Americans that we've never heard of before, or we have heard of them, we know they're pretty dodgy, just get in money from anywhere. That's what we need to do. Unless a legitimate, trustworthy, big-time investor comes in, I think this is how we do it. We just need to see progress, not perfection. We kind of let the hunt for perfection get in the way of making progress, and we just need to know this manager is not going to do the same thing that's happened to us the last 2 seasons, become a car crash from September into October, and then is gone by November. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. We need to break that cycle, and I think the way we keep coming back from defeats to Celtic, if you've got that whole attitude of, well, what's the point of these players? This is the thing. They'll beat everybody else. Then when it counts, they'll let us down again by losing to Celtic. This counts. Tonight counts. It always counts. We need to win. We need to make sure, as I said before, the most humiliating thing is no losing to Celtic all the time. It's no even being in a situation where we can finish second. That was humiliating. Not being in the division was humiliating. And then finishing third, that was humiliating. With the support we've got, the resources we've got, we should be able to instantly be the second best team in Scotland, being the first best team, being the best team, sorry, even though there's only one team in our way and it's a team that we dislike the most, it's still not as easy as you think. We need to approach that sensibly. And I think tonight it was a kind of, I think it was a, between the blue and the black owners, they represent Owners Club hoodies. I think they're the kind of, the grey ones, they're rubbish. Maybe when we beat Dundee United at Tannadice, that was a grey represent Owners Club hoodie. But the pink ones, not as good as the pink ones. There was a fella on, Trevor Carson tonight wearing that garish top, but that, not a guy you would mess with, etc. I know he would get all the respect in the world. All right, but if you've been, socially constructed as a macho, heterosexual male, or whatever like that, Trevor Carson's a guy you would not mess with. Nobody's in any way surprised that he wore a strip as pink as he did. I'm kind of referring to the other night.